Shalom. We greet you in the precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I want to report to you, He is alive and well. For 2026, I want to encourage you, fathers, mothers, children, and the entire family to develop a personal relationship with your Creator. Spend quality time with Him, read, study His words, have a strong and a constant prayer life, and stay in contact with Him at all times. For 2026, put your priorities in order. God first, followed by the family. In the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 33 reminds us, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. From the set of choices, God bless you. And God continue to bless beautiful and progressive Guyana. Thank you. Stay and be blessed.
In 1971, famous singer Marvin Gaye, he did a song titled What's Going On. Centered around that song was the social upheaval that was taking place at that point in time. And we want to really examine such a situation. As we look into our own nation, we see aspects of killings and unnecessary shootings and practices that are not productive. We see children being involved in criminal activity, young men, young people full of life and strength and wasting their lives away. And we want to say from the inception that this is not how God has designed it, and there is hope for everyone.
Right.
There is hope. So we are not here to berate or condemn anyone, but we're saying that if we become responsible enough as a people, we could do much better than we're doing. And so the issue of community, as we reflect on what Marvin Gaye, what he said, the issue of community is very important. There's a call for fathers to be responsible, mothers, stakeholders, different ones who they have a role to play in society for them to be responsible. Because the crux of the matter is that we were not designed to do life alone. And when we find ourselves on a lone path, destruction could come because there is no support system. And this is why community is important. When we say community, we speak about the whole gamut of persons involved. The family, the neighbor, and all of those persons, the teacher, the lawyer, everyone who has a role to play. And so, you see, growth happens when there is shared wisdom. And we get a sense as to what is happening now. Wisdom is not shared, not distributed proportionately. So it can't be one group of persons talking or acting. Everyone has to come together and to, pool our strengths so that we could be more effective as a people in our society. We can't have our young people just being wasted away because of some act of negligence on the part of one stakeholder or another. So there is hope. The God that we serve, we know that wisdom is the principal thing. And so let us try to work together as a people in this new year 2026 and offer the kind of counseling, the kind of support in whatever form it comes, so that we could really protect our people and protect ourselves. Gentlemen.
In
Dr. Hudson.
1971, as it was alluded to, what is remarkable is I remember 71 It was a tempestuous period. A great social commentator was quiet as he was going through the issues of his life. And like when he emerged from the long sleep, because he hadn't been producing, he had been absent from the studios. It's amazing how trouble can cause us to lose and to make our gift dark. And Marvin Gaye, who people have written about, emerged from that period of long sleep and inactivity. And he looked at society. He went to the studio. When he emerged from the studio, he produced one of his all-time great songs, What's Going On? His question touched the common conscience of the great United States of America. The lyrics are very simple. The lines are relatable as he spoke to mothers and he spoke to fathers. You know, we are sitting in this platform provided that we have carved out after coronavirus, Corona 19. We're meeting in safe spaces away from each other, but using technology. And we asking Guyanese the question, what's going on? Or as the Jamaicans will say, Wagwan. We 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 want to touch base with all of us. How the young people greet each other, how the boys in the street greet each other. And we love to hear your take on matters. No, not for abuse out or as they do many times on social media. We simply want to ask constructive questions. And we're hoping that in 2026, we can sit on the front step or back step. We can sit under the house, wherever we socialize, and we ask that question, what's going on? What's going on with my life? Of course, you do that with your family. What's going on with this village, boy? What's going on with the village? What's going on? Of course, we could come right back to the country. What's going on with the country? We ask ourselves, what's going on with my life? I encourage you and I challenge you on behalf of this entire set to ask yourself that question. Not to impose a view on anybody else, but to ask that question. What's going on? We are asking ourselves this, and we will answer in such a way that we can interact. Right, Reverend Asana?
Yes, Bishop. It's a very powerful question that we are asking. Sometimes we fail to recognize that much of our learning comes through attachment. There's so many theories on that. And when we have broken communities, broken societies, clearly the transmitting of generational learning, principles of survival, skills to be able to become a beneficial and fruitful citizen is lost. That gap many times is filled by what is described as the street script. And the street script is a script of survival, a script of crime. And it pains my heart to see so many of our children are allowed to or pushed to follow the script of the street. You don't live long, by the strip of this by the street laws, you obviously going to end up in against the law. You could even die. And to see our youths following that path will surely hurt every community. Once you're responsible, once you are concerned, it must trouble us. And so I think the call is to examine what is going on and to pause for a moment and ask ourselves, what can I do to improve how we do the things we do? What can I do to be a better servant, not just to my kids, but to the children around? How could I help the community to be more productive? I know as a child, I heard it takes a village to raise a child, and more and more as I get older, I think it is so true. It takes a village to really raise a child. And what's going on? What really is going on?
Relevancy of that question in the 21st century, it's applicable. What's going on? But one of the central themes of the lyrics deals with love and understanding and points to hope. And as I, from a social standpoint, examine what is happening even in our country, I reflect on my life as a young man growing up, how society enabled me to become, because, for example, coming out of school, there were opportunities that were available, or when school closed for whatever season, we had mechanic shops. We had other places as young men we could have gone and learn a trade and apply ourselves. So yes, while it is said that the community raises a child, the community can also contribute to the demise of that individual. And so the call is a clarion call. It's for all of us to make ourselves available, to have an understanding of what the young people are faced with in order to, in a positive way, address the situation. It's not good just to identify the problem, but we need to have a solution to that problem or those problems. And so together, we can do it. We can save our young people from destruction, but they themselves must have a willing heart to submit to mentorship, to coaching, to guidance, so that they can become productive individuals of our nation.
Elder Wesley, you referred to that famous quote that we often use in society today. It takes a village to raise a child. And that's a famous quote from Professor Nwubudu. And there's another part that we don't really refer to. The full quote is, it takes a village to raise a child and a community to keep the parents sane. So when we examine it in its entirety, we are seeing the concerted effort of the village, the communities, the stakeholders. And today, as we examine this question, what's going on? It's a question in your head. It's a question in your heart. It's a question that forces you to examine what is going on, and more so, how we can do something to create a change and a transformation. And so today we speak to the nation as fathers, as concerned citizens. We are not oblivious of what is happening in our societies today. We value each family. Each family dynamics are different.
Some families are doing well, some families are not doing so well. But each family is valuable to this nation, and we cannot afford to lose family members, especially our younger boys and girls. We cannot afford to let them mortgage their future because of some toxic, some unwise idea. So the clarion call today is for us to examine ourselves, examine our families, make a fuss of our families, fathers, be responsible mothers, be responsible children. You have older siblings, younger siblings. Let us guide them. Let us show them the way. Find a way to develop ourselves. And you have a mind of your own, especially our young boys. Be wise. Don't settle for less. Don't settle for toxic ideas, but allow yourself to come into that place where you can learn a skill. I mean, I was so happy when Elder Wesley you spoke about the opportunities given in the past, and they're still available to learn a trade, to learn a skill. Let us find ways to help each other, pull out the good in each other, and help us. Let's see what are those success stories and share them so that we can keep developing not only ourselves and our families, but our nation.
As a leader, sometimes when you see things like this in the news, you kind of feel exhausted because you might be working on so many projects trying to engage so many young people, and then still some of them slip through, some of them make mistakes, and some of them fall into the traps that are there within society. But this is just a word of encouragement. You have organizations like Nolly Secundas who historically has done a lot for the small community that we're in at in on Durban Street, you know. And what's interesting is that not every young person that passed through an organization like that was geared towards youth engagement and youth empowerment, and not all of them came out clean, as in didn't fall a victim to some of these activities. But these organizations help you to kind of stay away from those activities and build yourself, build your character, build your experience. You know, I could even mention a Generation Next. There's some programs that we offer where young people are involved, like the Read and Grow program, or even some of our essential programs. Young people need guidance. Not all of them might be receptive to the guidance, but as leaders, our job is to just continue reaching out to them and create more opportunities to them where they have access to opportunities. Some of them just need a safe space. Some of them just need a snack. You know, some of them just need somebody to tell them you're going to school today. You know, and if every one of our leaders, you know, or you mightn't even look at yourself as a leader, but if you're an older person and you look and you see a young boy or a young girl out there and you see them on a trend that it is not too bad right now, but you think it could go somewhere, you have a duty, or you have an opportunity to reach out to them and to give them that olive branch, you know, show them the right path, show them the right way. And I could even highlight, even in the sports community, in some of the grassroots programs across the country, even across the city, you have situations where you have young boys or young girls, they come out to practice, and then you see a parent. I actually saw this myself where a parent came out and said, you know what, I'm not sending back my child to this football thing because I don't like the group he's hanging with. And then when you discover, when you look deeper, you realize that it's not an issue with the footballing fraternity. It was an issue where these are young children, and some of them don't have the best environments that they're growing up around. And you as a leader, for example, if you're in that footballing community, you as a leader have to kind of guide those young persons and tell them, hey, don't stick around that crowd, and stay focused. And that's the kind of duty that we kind of have as leaders. So this is just a word of encouragement for the leaders around. Even if they might be resistant to the change, your job is to always extend that olive branch, reach out, create programs to them, and don't give up. Because even if one of them make it, even if two or three of them make it, that's enough. And you just continue building on that.
Brother Martin, I almost call you Dr. Martin. I congratulate you for the kinds of work you're involved in, and may your work continue to grow, and those who are around you and who work with you, even the church. But I strongly believe that there is sometimes a real identity gap. For the way we see ourselves is the way we treat ourselves. The way we treat ourselves is the way we allow others to treat us. You know, John 10:10 makes this observation that the thief come but to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But Christ has come that we may have life and life more abundantly. What am I trying to say? Some of us, like you referenced, need a mirror to really get a chance to see what our real potential is. And that's why connecting to groups like the group you spoke about, and even connecting to churches, and I will go as far as even some religious organizations, will help us to discover our value and then start putting that value to work. And I think more and more in our community, we need men like the men who are sitting on this panel to help our next generation and this present generation really discover who we really are and what we are really capable of doing and help to get that done.
You know, you can't transform what you avoid or what you stay away from. I mean, we want to see a difference in our nation. We want to see a difference in our space. And therefore, all the issues that we see that might be adverse to what we want, if we avoid it, we dodge from it or dodge from it, we will not make the kind of impact. So the community is so important because in the community there are resources that could be leveraged, and one has to be very mindful of what we have around them. So it begins with the individual. I could say first, as a father, as a mother, you know, my children, I want them to be on a path that is productive. That child could also say, you know what, I'm looking into the future. I want to become somebody of value. I grew up in East Rhineveld in Warlock, and I mean, the community had its reputation. But for some reason, I kept looking outward that, you know, I want to be somebody. So children can do that too. Children can have visions for themselves. They can have ideas as to where they want to go, what they want to become. And I'm not negating the role of parents in terms of guidance. So this is where it really starts though, in the family. The parent, the father, the mother, you know, the siblings, uncles, aunts, people who will come alongside children and put them on a path. But we have to say, what will we bring to the table to bring about this transformation? All we have to do is look around, and it begins with the individual, you know, and then that could spread across to other parts. So let's examine ourselves and see if we're happy and comfortable with what is around us. And if we're not, well, then let us do something.
Pastor Court?
Exactly, Dr. Hudson. Exactly, Dr. Hudson. As you were speaking, a certain character came to mind. Joshua, you know, at his farewell speech in Joshua 24, he were speaking about community. He called all of Israel together, and he made a statement after he narrated every single thing that God had done for them in their life. How we helped their ancestors, removed them from serving ancient gods, brought them out of Egypt, and so on and so forth. Give them things that they didn't even work for, and living in houses that they didn't build. What am I saying? After he listed every single thing that God had done for them, he made a declaration, a public and bold declaration. He said, as for me and my house, he's speaking about community. As for me and my house, he stood in the gap for his family publicly. I don't care what you're going to do, Joshua was saying. I don't care what you say. Joshua didn't do a poll, a WhatsApp poll, and say, who's going to fall? Who's going to serve God? He made a declaration. He led from the front. And he said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So what am I saying? We all have to make a declaration. He listed every single thing that God did. Deuteronomy tells us, 6 tells us, we need to tell our children all the rules, where God has brought us from. Teach them every single day. Repeat it when they wake up, when they sleep, when they're on the road, when they lie down. Write it on their forehead. Repeat, repeat, repeat. That's what we're saying. So how will the children learn? How will they know that they have to go and learn mechanic? Or how will they know they have to go and pick up art? You have to teach them. You have to repeat. You have to tell them where you came from, show them what God has done for you, and then encourage them. After Joshua made that speech, Judges 2 tells us an entire generation, a few years later, an entire generation rose up without knowing God or what He done for them. We have to keep repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. That's how the children will learn. That's where the community is formed. We have to share. If we don't share, if we don't impart knowledge, then we're bound to repeat the same mistakes. The Bible is always true. So as for me and my house in 2026, we will serve the Lord. To serve the Lord means you have to inculcate an attitude of worship, inculcate an attitude of reverence. These things don't come automatically. It comes by discipline and it comes by hard work. So you as the father, you as the elder brother, you as the mother, it might be a single parent, you have to set the example. Don't wait on the child. You set the example and they will follow.
Dr. Lee, as a young man growing up in the country, how did you reach where you are now?
I want to go back to thanks, Bishop. I want to go back to the quote that both Elder Wesley and Dr. Benjamin made. The involvement of the village, the involvement of the elders. You see, I think in the village, they recognize their responsibility in terms of shaping the lives of young men and women in the village and grooming them, because they had a perception of what the society can hold if they fail to train and to shape the lives of young people. So I like the fact that we are talking here about the fathers, we're talking about the mothers, we're talking about the influencers in society who collectively we have a role to play in shaping the lives of our young people. This is a beautiful country. And sometimes I look around and I see our Western neighbors, how they have come and they have immersed themselves in this society and to develop themselves. So quite a lot is going for this country, but I think we need to change our mindset. We need to encourage our young people to look to a greater and a brighter future. We will continue this conversation, God willing, next week. This has been Choices. Continue to look to the Lord in 2026, and great things are in store. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.
We thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Celicia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.